It all started with an email that looked like spam. "Congratulations, you've been selected for an exclusive dinner experience with Mr. Adrian Hale." Clara almost deleted it. She was sitting at her tiny kitchen table surrounded by unpaid bills and half-eaten takeout. Her laptop hummed weakly, its cracked screen blinking from years of overuse. She frowned at the subject line and let out a dry laugh. "Yeah, right," she muttered. "Next you'll tell me I've won $1 million from a prince in Nigeria." But something about the name Adrian Hale tugged at her memory. It wasn't unfamiliar. She opened another tab and typed it into the search bar. Her screen filled with images of a man in designer suits and award ceremonies. Forbes covers charity events, a Harvard honorary degree. Adrian Hale was a billionaire tech entrepreneur, founder of Halo Tech, one of the biggest companies in the world. And for some absurd reason he apparently wanted to have dinner with her. Clara closed the tab, shaking her head. It's a scam. Has to be. But that night, while folding laundry in her one-bedroom apartment, the thought lingered. She couldn't shake the curiosity. Why her? She was nobody. A waitress barely getting by in downtown Chicago, patching her jeans with hope and caffeine. Still, by the next morning she found herself rereading the email. It looked official. The sender's domain matched the company's. The tone was professional, and it didn't ask for money or personal details. Against her better judgment, Clara replied, "Hi, I think there's been a mistake. I'm not sure why I was chosen, but thank you anyway." An hour later her phone buzzed. "Ms. James, there is no mistake. Mr. Hale personally requested to meet you. Dinner at 7 p.m., the Glass Garden." Her hands trembled. The Glass Garden was the most expensive restaurant in the city. Even stepping through its doors required a reservation months in advance. This was insane. By 6:30 p.m., Clara stood outside the restaurant wearing her one decent dress. Navy blue, thrifted, slightly faded at the seams. Her hair was pinned up neatly, though a few stubborn curls refused to cooperate. She looked at her reflection in the glass door and tried to smile, but it felt unnatural. Inside, the Mac tree looked up expectantly. "Good evening, miss." Clara James. "I am meeting Mr. Adrian Hale." His expression softened immediately. "Of course, Miss James. Right this way." The restaurant glowed under amber chandeliers. Glass walls revealed the city skyline, dotted with lights like scattered stars. Every table was filled, couples in suits and gowns, murmuring over champagne. And then she saw him. Adrian Hale stood as she approached, his tall frame commanding but not intimidating. He wore a charcoal suit, crisp and understated. His dark hair was slightly tousled, as if he didn't care for perfection. But what caught her off guard were his eyes, warm, intent, almost familiar. "Clara," he said, his voice rich but gentle. "Thank you for coming." She blinked. "You're real," he chuckled. "Last I checked." They sat. The waiter poured wine neither of them touched. "I'm sorry," she said, "but why am I here?" "I don't even know you." Adrian leaned back, studying her face as if searching for something. "Do you really not remember me?" Clara frowned. "I don't think so." He smiled faintly. "Maybe this will help. 5 years ago, outside Mercy General Hospital. You worked there for a while, didn't you?" She hesitated. "Yes, in the cafeteria. For about 6 months. You gave a man your umbrella in the rain that day. He had no coat, no money. You walked 2 miles home soaked because you said he needed it more." Clara's breath caught. "That was you?" He nodded. She remembered it now, a drenched man in hospital scrubs, sitting by the parking lot. He'd looked exhausted, lost. She'd offered her umbrella, not expecting to see him again. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I was there because my mother was dying," Adrian said softly. "You were kind when no one else was. You told me, no one stays dry forever. It's okay to share the rain. I never forgot that." Clara's throat tightened. That was just being human. He smiled. "For you, maybe. For me, it was a reminder of what I'd forgotten." Dinner flowed easily after that. They talked, about small things, about everything. Adrian wasn't what she expected. He wasn't arrogant or rehearsed. He laughed easily, listened more than he spoke. Halfway through dessert he asked, "Do you believe in fate?" She smiled faintly. "I believe in choices." He nodded. "Then I hope you'll choose to meet me again." Clara hesitated. "Are you sure I'm not really rich?" He interrupted, grinning. "Neither was I once. It was ridiculous," she told herself later, but she said yes. Their next meetings were different. No fancy restaurants, no photographers lurking nearby. He took her to quiet parks, hole-in-the-wall cafes, thrift stores where she still shopped. Sometimes he'd show up at her diner during her shift, pretending to be a customer just to watch her work. He'd order pie, always the apple one, and tip too much. "You don't have to do that," she told him once. "I'm not tipping," he said with a wink. "I'm investing." "In what?" "In your smile." She rolled her eyes, but her cheeks flushed. Weeks turned into months. People whispered. The media speculated. Billionaire dating waitress, headlines screamed. Paparazzi appeared outside her apartment. But Adrian didn't care. He shielded her from the noise, reminding her again and again. None of them were there in the rain. And slowly she began to believe him. But fairy tales have a way of testing hearts. One evening, Clara arrived at Halo Tech headquarters to surprise him. She carried homemade sandwiches and a note that said, "For the world's busiest man." But as the elevator doors opened, she stopped. Adrian was in his office, with a woman, elegant, poised in a red dress that screamed luxury. They were laughing too closely. Clara froze. The woman touched his arm, whispering something that made him smile. She turned away before they noticed her. Her chest felt hollow, foolish. She left the sandwiches on the reception desk and walked out into the night, her heart cracking with every step. For 3 days she ignored his calls. On the 4th he showed up at her apartment, disheveled and anxious. "Clara, please. Just let me explain." She crossed her arms. "Explain what?" "That I was just a charity project." He flinched. "You think I'd do that?" "I don't know what to think anymore." "The woman you saw?" "That was my sister. We were discussing her engagement. I didn't even know you came by." Clara blinked. "Your sister?"
"Yes."
"And she's furious at me right now because I let her date an actor she hates." A laugh broke from her, small and wet. "You're serious?" "I've never been more." He stepped closer, gently brushing away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. "You think I'd risk this? Us for anyone else?" Her anger melted into something tender, something terrifyingly real. "Why me?" "Adrian," she whispered. "You could have anyone." He smiled softly. "Because when I was lost you didn't see a billionaire. You saw a man standing in the rain." Their love deepened, but not everything was easy. Adrian's world was full of board meetings, investors, and cameras. Clara's world was early shifts, burnt coffee, and nosy coworkers. They met in the middle, in laughter, in shared silences, in nights spent cooking instant noodles in his penthouse just because it felt normal. Still, doubts lingered in her mind. She didn't belong in his world. People stared at her like she was an accident, a stain on his perfect image. Every article dissected her, the waitress who caught a billionaire, from diner to diamond rings. One night, unable to sleep, Clara opened her phone and scrolled through the comments. "She's after his money. She's not even that pretty." Publicity stunt. She closed the screen and curled up, fighting tears. She didn't want to be someone's story. She just wanted to be enough. The next morning she went to his office. "Adrian, I think we should take a break." He looked up, startled. "What? Why? You don't need someone like me. I can't fit into your world." His eyes softened, but his jaw tightened. "Is this about what people are saying?" "It's about what's true," she said quietly. "You deserve someone who belongs there, not a waitress with overdue rent." He stood and walked around the desk, stopping inches from her. "Do you really think I care about belonging? Maybe you should. Then tell me this, Clara." His voice was low, trembling. "When I was sitting outside that hospital, soaked and broken." She blinked. "No." "Then don't ask me to care now." Her heart ached. "Adrian." He took her hand, his thumb tracing the faint calluses on her palm. "I've lived surrounded by everything money can buy, except peace. You gave me that, and I'm not letting it go because of noise." A tears blurred her vision. "I don't know how to do this." He smiled faintly. "Then let me show you." The months passed. Slowly the noise faded. Clara started her own small cafe with Adrian's quiet support. Nothing flashy, just a warm little corner with mismatched chairs and a sign that said, "The Rainy Spoon." People came not for luxury but for comfort. Sometimes Adrian would drop by unannounced, roll up his sleeves, and help serve coffee. Customers would whisper amused, but no one said a word. He'd wink and say, "Just earning my tip." Clara's laughter always filled the room. One snowy December night, the cafe was closing. The last customers had left. Clara was wiping down tables when she noticed something, a folded note taped to the counter. It read, "Come to where we first met." Her heart raced. She threw on her coat and hurried out into the street. The city sparkled with Christmas lights. She followed the directions, down Main Street, past the hospital, toward the small park where she once handed an umbrella to a stranger in the rain. The park was empty, blanketed in snow. A faint melody played somewhere, a violin soft and aching. Then she saw him. Adrian stood under the same flickering lamppost, dressed simply in a coat and scarf. Snowflakes clung to his hair. He smiled when he saw her. "You remembered," he said. "I never forgot," she whispered. He took a step closer. Neither did. From behind him, the lights of the park flickered to life one by one, illuminating a trail of white roses forming a circle in the snow. Clara gasped softly. "What is this?" Adrian knelt, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. Her breath hitched. The world seemed to still. He looked up at her, not as a billionaire, not as a man of headlines, but as the drenched stranger she'd once helped. His voice was steady, full of quiet devotion. 5 years ago, you gave a stranger your umbrella and a reason to believe in people again. You showed me that kindness doesn't need wealth, just heart. You turned my rain into something worth standing in." Clara James. He opened the box. A simple ring glimmered inside. "Marry me." The Clara's hands flew to her mouth. Tears spilled freely now, warm against the cold air. "Adrian, she stammered. "Say yes," he whispered, smiling through his own tears. "Let's keep sharing the rain." Her laugh broke through the sobs as she nodded, unable to speak. He slipped the ring onto her trembling fingers, stood, and pulled her into his arms. Snow fell around them, soft and endless as if the world itself had paused to watch. And somewhere between the sound of the violin and the hush of falling snow, Clara realized something. This wasn't a fairy tale. It was real, messy, imperfect, beautiful. And for the first time in her life, she didn't feel like she didn't belong. She was exactly where she was meant to be, under the same light, in the same rain, with the same man.